Go ahead. Sorry. Today is February 24th, 2025. It is approximately 12:11 PM. And this is the Downtown Estacada Commission. And we are having a meeting with Sherry Stewart of Oregon Main Street Program. And we are calling this meeting to order.
Let's do roll call. Okay. Hannah Smith. Here. Julie Cooper. Absent. Connie Redmond. Connie. She's online.
She is online.
Okay.
Oh, I'm here.
Heather
I had to
Randall.
unmute.
Here. Julie Colton. Is absent. Sherry Fox Hames.
Here.
John Eichsenberger.
Eichsenberger here.
Okay, great. And Corbin is absent.
All right. We have called the meeting to order. Do we have any public comments online or in the galley?
There is no one online or present.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go on to our number 3 agenda, Oregon Main Street Strategic Planning.
That's my cue.
Yeah, we go. Here we go.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for being here, Sherry Stewart.
Thank you for having me. We've got a really tight agenda. So I did a little prep work in advance to give us some stuff to work off of. But I want to start really quickly going over what our agenda is to develop the strategic plan. One, we'll spend just a little bit of time on the community survey results, of which you received a copy in advance. And then from the community survey results and from the site visit for the progress visit, I pulled together a draft vision statement and then have proposed a couple of transformation strategies and some sample goals and objectives based upon that information, just to give us a starting point so that we don't have a blank sheet of paper to go through this today. And then we'll talk a little bit about next steps, how you can take that draft and make it your own. I will, based upon the input today, I'll refine the simple strategic plan that I'm working on, incorporate your comments and give you back that draft so that you can move forward and refine that. And then we'll wrap up the session as planned, hopefully at 1:30. We'll wrap up with whatever we have completed at that time. So we'll go ahead. First, greatly appreciate all the efforts of Evelyn and everyone else who was involved in distributing the link to the community survey. There were 58 responses. You can see that there was kind of a breadth of people. They could select more than one option. A lot of people who are residents in the community responded. Over 67% of the respondents were non-downtown residents in Estacada. 43% identified themselves as customers of downtown businesses. So a good mix of people that are using the downtown. Almost 33% identified themselves as fans of downtown Estacada. And we hope that we increase that number over time. And then there's a mix of business owners and downtown residents, property owners, and a lot of other school district representatives, some other folks who responded, just so that you know where that input is coming from that's leading into some of the recommendations. We asked them what do they like about downtown. So some of those top things, at least that filtered to the top for me, was the small town feel, community feel. They like kind of the accessibility of downtown and walkability, the mix of businesses, the economy that we have here, that they're locally owned and operated by and large, the aesthetics and infrastructure that is represented in downtown, both in terms of the building stock, the historic building stock, as well as the investment in streetscape improvements and the public art, all of those kinds of things, people noted. The proximity to recreation, the location of downtown as being kind of that hub to other things. And then opportunities and the growth that's happening. Those are all some good things. Conversely, some of those things are also identified as some areas for improvement, we'll call it. So the aging infrastructure, so there's still some infrastructure needs in the community. And I think sometimes that wasn't just within the lens of downtown. It was more some of those impacts on the community. Some dilapidated buildings, despite some of that investment, but people love the historic buildings. They just want to see more taken care of. The business variety still an area for improvement, although that is improved and people noted that. Lack of entertainment, recreation venues in the downtown. Parking came up. It always comes up, so not a surprise. It'd be a huge surprise if it didn't. So, pedestrian safety came up quite a bit. People acknowledge the limited community gathering spaces, and we certainly talked about that on the walking tour. Some issues and opportunities around that. Local support for businesses, connecting residents more strongly with businesses in the downtown is still an area for improvement. So we did ask people to describe downtown in one word. You got the whole list of that. This is what it looks like as a word cloud. And frankly, a lot of things jumped out. It's a mixed, quaint, beautiful, charming, potential, small town. All of those are kind of like positives, but then there are some that jump out like outdated, kind of behind the times kind of feel a little bit. So I think it's swayed towards the positive, but then there's still those areas for improvement as well. Now, I didn't go into a lot of depth on a lot of the survey results, just because I knew that we were really short of time and that you had that material to look over in advance. But I took a lot of that information. I kind of used ChatGPT to see, do a little bit of wordsmithing for us to get us a start. And so this is a first draft, so to speak, of a potential vision statement for downtown. So how you want the district to look, feel, and function 5, 10, 15 years in the future. Downtown Estacada will remain a vibrant, welcoming, and community-focused hub that honors its history while embracing smart, sustainable growth. It will support local businesses, provide essential services and entertainment, and maintain its small town charm with safe, walkable spaces for gathering, shopping, and dining. Growth will be thoughtful and well managed, ensuring Estacada stays a beautiful, thriving town where residents feel at home and visitors feel welcome. So that's a first draft. So we're going to spend a little bit of time diving a little bit deeper into this, and I made a printout.
Thank you.
And so what I would like us to do is take a moment and look at this and start scratching out what you like, what you don't like, what's missing, ways that it can be improved. So let's spend about 5 minutes on your own doing that, and then we'll kind of bring you back together. And Connie, I'm sorry we don't have a printed out piece in front of you, but if you can look at it on your screen and make similar edits, that would be great.
Yep, I can see it just fine.
Okay, perfect.
And this is for the entirety of the downtown zoning.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm. what you consider your focus area for the Downtown Estacada Commission.
Sorry.
What
you
you
say, what
consider
do
your
I- what do
focus
I-
area.
okay.
Mhm. Yeah, so this will be the commission's vision for what you're trying to accomplish in downtown as the result of the time that you spent on this commission. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
I don't see any changes. I think it hits everything that we want to do.
It's hard to
Sustain our
argue with
growth,
AI.
support businesses, provide entertainment. I think it's good.
I have some problems with some of the wording. I don't like the word provide essential services and entertainment. I don't know how we as a commission can provide essential services and entertainment. We can send out a survey and we can have the community lend their recommendations. But we as a committee, like if the community says, hey, we want a space so that we can host birthday parties, whatever, stuff like that. We can't ourselves go out and say, hey, you, John Doe, we want you to build a recreation place over here so that we can host events. I mean, I think that I don't have an issue with what you're trying to say, but this is kind of, to me, this reads as a matter of fact, and we don't have that authority of a matter of fact. So, we've got, somehow that needs, in my opinion, it needs to be reworded.
Good point. Sue.
And then, again, just my opinion, growth will be thoughtful and well managed. Again, how are we going to manage that? And then also ensuring Estacada stays beautiful. How do we ensure that it stays beautiful? There might be somebody who owns a building and is it really our responsibilities to send a mailer or to try to contact the person that owns that building? What happens if the person that owns that building lives in Philadelphia and we don't have any way to contact that person? And let's say it is a dilapidated building. We have absolutely no control to make sure that that building looks nice. I mean,
And John, I think you.
I agree with what Sherry's saying there. I'm wondering if just getting rid of provide in that first topic you raised up would satisfy it, because we will support essential services and entertainment, but we're not going to provide them. So just scratching the word provide out of there maybe would get you to where you'd be
And
And maybe
comfortable.
exchange it with support.
Well, the support, it says up there, if we just do,
Right
it
here.
will support local businesses, essential services and entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, would get there.
This is for the DEC.
And
Right.
So it's the vision,
Right.
it's that aspirational piece.
Mhm.
Like if we looked, 15 years in the future, then this is what all of the work that you'll be doing leads up to that.
Sure.
It's not saying necessarily that you will do X, Y,
Right.
Z, but it's saying this is how we want the district to look and feel and function in the future. And
Mhm.
that's what you're going to nurture and support and encourage, those things that are within your wheelhouse. So I think the suggestion you made, just getting rid of one of that is a great first edit there. So for sure.
And you could even add support to the second concern, supporting growth that will be thoughtful and well managed. Instead of, we're not going to be providing this growth, but we'll support the growth and how you do the grants, and the
Right.
different developments. we're
Events and
doing.
stuff.
That's what I was just gonna ask. I'm just want to make a clarifying question, kind of. Isn't part of the DEC, aren't we working with the Main Street program alongside the grant
You're
stuff?
using the
We're
Main
using the
Street.
Main Street program to beautify
Mhm.
Estacada.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
did last.
right?
Mhm.
So I could see, I don't know, I
Yeah.
feel like
We are
encouraging the
partly-
businesses, yeah.
Well, and there was a time that we talked about like coming up with a fee for certain buildings. If they
Got
want,
emptied,
it was,
yeah.
So-
did talk
No, I
about
don't
that.
think we have, I don't think
No,
anything,
no,
of-
we
I
didn't,
think
but
the
I mean-
attorney said we couldn't do that, but.
No, that I don't think we can.
Yeah.
That I think the city council was not like, this isn't really necessarily an issue to tackle right now. But when we talk about beautification, there are some things that are already here existing that you guys don't manage, but that the city manages. Like we
Mm.
have the downtown design code, which I know we've talked about that a few times. And that kind of manages the look and feel of the downtown district to make sure that it stays, beautiful, but at least more historically accurate. So there's that that's built in, and then there is the vacant building registry, which requires vacant buildings to maintain a certain standard of cleanliness, But yeah, it's not like you're saying people have to make their place more beautiful. The city does provide grants through the URA, which is in with the downtown zone too.
My,
Good point.
my only thing is I just don't want somebody identifies us and sees us on the street, I'm at high school pharmacy picking up a prescription and says, hey, I see that you're the chair of the DEC. It says that you will provide essential services, and how come you're not providing? I just, I'm looking at this from the worst side. I'm looking at this from the literal. Because if somebody comes up to me and says, well, this is what your mission statement says, that's why I'm being cautious. I
Mhm.
just don't want I don't want any of us to be put in a corner where we're having to defend that we are volunteers. Let's make very clear, we are volunteers, and I want us all to be in a safe space. And I just want us to be a little bit more open. And I do like your suggestion of just dropping the word provide on that first
I
one.
think
Thank
there's
you.
ways to.
And, where you were talking about, growth will be, support or encourage
Mm,
growth that is thoughtful.
Yeah.
Could be the terminology there.
encouraging.
Okay. I can get down with that.
Mhm.
And if you make any other edits, go ahead and make those, and I'll collect them at the end, and then I'll take them back and I'll update this. And so when you get the report, you'll have a revised draft vision
Nice.
statement to look at. And that will be in a Word document, so you can continue to wordsmith it as you go forward. It's just trying to be as efficient with our time together today as possible. So, okay. Any other changes at this point that you see?
Does anybody see any issues with the word safe? Maintain its small town charm with safe walkable spaces. Because safe to me and walkable spaces, to me, that seems like that's a city thing.
Like
I'm
not
just,
small town is what you mean?
no,
what?
safe and
Safe,
walkable. You guys, I am very analytical and I'm looking at this very specifically. I'm just looking at that little part of the sentence. It says you will maintain a small town charm
Mhm.
with safe and walkable spaces. That is basically what that's saying to me.
Mhm.
As you as the DEC, you're going to make sure that my kids are safe
Mhm.
and have walkable spaces. Is that really what the DEC does?
Mm-mm.
Again,
Sometimes, yeah. So when we were doing the Main Street update, the
Mm.
DEC reviewed those plans, and that would have been for things like pedestrian safety and accessibility. So as the DEC, you are an advisory board to the city council, and your recommendations matter to the city council. So if you see something like, hey, this area of town, the sidewalks are not safe, we need to put in ADA ramps, you can totally recommend that to city council, and that would be fulfilling your duties as part of the DEC.
okay, so can we change the word from maintain to something like advisory? Something along that line? Sorry, I don't mean to
And
be a
provide
problem.
guidance to maintain.
Perfect. I like it.
Guidance.
I like it.
Yeah.
Were any of the street lights or any of that part of this program, or was that all the downtown, the new street lights and
The streetlights that we just put in on Main Street,
Yeah.
yeah, that was part of the Main Street redesign.
So that actually did do a lot of safety. for us.
Yeah, that, the crosswalks, we widened the sidewalks in places, we put in ADA ramps, all of those
ramps all
things
over.
increase safety.
And would you prefer we take out safe and just leave walkable?
No, I'm totally fine if we put and provide guidance to maintain. I love that.
Okay. Alright. Any other thoughts?
Are you sorry you joined now, John?
No. I like the referral.
That's good. Words matter.
Okay,
usually.
well, good.
Mhm.
Well, keep
Hopefully.
thinking about it. If anything else comes to mind, just note it and give it to me before I leave, or email any other corrections that you like to see. The next thing we're going to look at is what Main Street America calls transformation strategies. I like thinking of it as overarching strategies, but transformation strategies. And it's really looking at what the community's vision is. So we've just kind of went through what that vision statement might look like based upon the community survey and the visit earlier for the progress visit, kind of looking at the economic opportunities for the community, which we've talked about. It's comprehensive. So an overarching strategy, instead of siloing each of the 4 pillars of Main Street, it's kind of getting those overarching strategies that's based in that community vision. And then it's not like a forever strategy. It's like what we're going to look at over the next 3 years or so. And then filtering the work in each of the 4 pillars of Main Street to make sure that it's meeting that overarching strategy. So for example, if one of your overarching strategies was to be an arts district, then design wise, you would want to encourage public art. Event wise, through promotions, you want to do like art walks and things like that. So it's like kind of being a little bit more strategic in that sense. Making sure that it's kind of measurable, so that some of those things are achievable and measurable. And then it just kind of, again, provides that guidance for the next 3 to 5 years for your work as a filter to look at all of the projects and activities. And frankly, sometimes you can look at those overarching strategies and say, are there some things that we need to sunset or change or drop? So based upon that draft vision statement and looking at some of the comments, I looked at, there's all sorts of, we won't go into detail on this. I just wanted to show you that Main Street America has put together what they call like catalyst strategies, like those out of the box kinds of things to kind of get people started with their first set of transformation strategies. So there's everything for like arts and culture, entertainment, downtown living, active living, outdoor recreation, agriculture, and on and on and on. So that's essentially what this slide is showing, what all of those potential catalyst strategies are. Now out of this, I thought there were 2 that really resonated for me based upon the walking tour and talking during the progress visit and looking at the community surveys. The first one, I'll hand these out. There's 2. And Main Street America recommends only having like 1 or 2 transformation strategies. So I could have put 2. You don't have to have 2. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Connie, what I just handed out is what you're seeing on the screen. I just printed out the slides so people had it in front of
Okay,
them.
thank you.
Sure. So the first transformation strategy is kind of community gathering as an overarching, and that's a focus for bringing the community together through activities, arts, culture, entertainment, placemaking things, and the businesses that are downtown or in your district. And I think there's some things that support this that I saw during the progress visit and that I saw the community say how they would like the downtown to look, feel, and function. You already have a pretty solid calendar of events and activities that already take place. in your community and in the downtown. The survey results that identified a need for improving the business mix, so kind of having it through that filter. Desire to focus on making downtown more inviting for residents, but appealing to visitors as well. So residents first, but if we make it good for our residents, then visitors will want to experience, you know, a real authentic community. So there was a survey result that identified a need for and support for placemaking. I think you've already made a huge stride in this, to be honest, for any size community. You know, the art benches are beautiful, the murals that you have, the investment in a lot of the streetscape. You've already invested in those activities, but people, you know, it's a layering, continuing to enhance community investment in public art that you've already made collectively as a community. And some of these things, you know, when we look at the work that happens in Main Street, recognize that you as a commission don't do anything. You just have that big picture of you. And then you kind of plug in each of the 4 pillars what everybody in the community is collectively doing, so that then you identify the opportunities and the gaps for your organization. And then that ability to really leverage your small town charm that people feel that you have so strongly here. So that's one of the 2 strategies. The other one is family focused. When we definitely see that in the survey results, you know, people, you know, family first, people first. So with a family focused strategy, this is supporting improved quality of life for all ages, so multi-generational, and kind of focus towards the key age demographics in your community. So elder friendly, family friendly, young adult friendly, youth friendly initiatives, all of those kinds of things are kind of under that family focused. Some of the things that are happening already that support this strategy is there's a strong sense of community in Estacada. The survey identified a support for retaining the small town atmosphere similar to the other. There's already this emerging family-friendly business cluster. We noted that on the walking tour. I remember stopping and going like, wait a minute, you kind of have this naturally emerging business cluster that's really kind of focused towards kids and families happening within your district. So that kind of supports that. The proximity of recreation and location opportunities, you know, that healthy kind of living and the walkability of downtown. So there's a lot of things I think that are already happening that could be strengthened with those 2 transformation strategy focuses. And again, this is taking that vision statement, which will be refined and given back. And then based upon that vision statement, what are a couple of those 2 transformation strategy areas that could be an area of focus that you can have impact on through goals and objectives and activities? And so those are the 2 that resonated for me. I'll let you think about it for a couple of minutes and see how it resonates with you. Lonnie, it looks like you have your hand raised. Go ahead and
Go for
unmute
Okay,
yourself.
I really like the family focused. I think with the addition of the candy store, the martial arts place, you know, the school, I think that's taken up a lot of space that maybe we could have used it for something else. But I think the downtown core is getting more family focused than it has been in quite a while. Mossy Rock, you know, the tavern, the wine place, but we have kids stuff too. So I think that's going pretty well.
Yeah, Yeah, that's what I noted on the walking tour. It's like, wow, you really do have this kind of really strong cluster happening here.
Right.
Which is great because
good.
they can build off of each other when that's kind of promoted and marketed. So,
Yeah, and I think that's what happens when a new business comes in too. They all try to work within the businesses that are, you know, next to them. And I was just saying to Hannah, I'm really kind of shocked that people would say that we don't have family-friendly events because I know
Yeah.
the events that we put on are all family-friendly.
Yeah.
So I'm a little taken back by that because I don't know how we improve on that when everything that we do is family-oriented. I mean, we make a point to make sure that
Yeah.
everything that we
Yeah.
do. I don't know if there's any event with any committee that isn't family-oriented.
yeah. I think that's true. And I think that kind of supports having that both community gathering and family friendly, family focused thing, because then that reinforces that you are on the right track, right?
Right.
And to continue to grow and enhance that area of focus, I think strengthening it, and then putting that in the context that, you know, we've just been organically developing that, but now it's part of this overarching strategy. We're doing this because we want to achieve this, because that's our vision for where we want to be as a community. So it kind of puts it into a roadmap for success.
So do you think that it would be beneficial to list that as one of the transformational strategies, but then kind of drill it down a little bit more? Because I think that the events that we have, I mean, obviously, some of them are going to be more geared to certain people. But I think everything that we have is actually geared to all ages, whether it's young, middle-aged, older. Okay,
You are so analytical.
Sorry, I
No,
know.
no, it's a good thing. So you jumped ahead to the next
Oh.
piece. Because you're absolutely right. You're right. We can't just leave it hanging there.
No, I was like, is there a way to combine these two things?
Yeah,
Good to see you.
Yes, thank you.
See you later.
yeah, your brain, I want to get inside there.
Oh, no, you don't.
Ask
my husband, he
Yeah,
does.
so let's go to this next piece.
Yeah.
So what you do with those transformation strategies, that's actually exactly what you do next. So what's our overarching goals? And then what are those objectives to achieve that? And this is where it might get need a little bit more work, but this is kind of my first stab at that chart. And so, oops, I'm sorry. It's okay. So here, based upon those transformation strategies and that vision statement, this nests into that. So we have the first goal, continue improvement, encouraging improvement in infrastructure and public spaces, and then some objectives under that. So expanding parking. These are things that not necessarily you directly do, but you encourage or nurture or support or weigh in on. Continue to work with the city on enhancing public safety, revitalizing historic buildings, creating, enhancing public gathering spaces. A second goal around those business options is continuing to support and diversifying business and entertainment options. Some of the things to put out there are encouraging family-friendly businesses, improving signage to attract visitors to downtown, improving communication between local government and businesses. And then a third one is increase community connections through events, activities, and marketing. That's kind of like continuing to do some of those things because this is where you're really strong in. This is where you expand and improve existing events. Explore bringing back lost traditions to strengthen local community identity. That was something that came up in the survey. Create new events, especially in the off season, and then connect residents with downtown businesses. And this is where some of your existing activities would fit under these objectives already. And then you just identify who's doing what under each of these objectives. And then the fourth goal would be increase and support engagement in downtown. So convene community conversations to continue engaging residents in the future of downtown, leveraging opportunities to engage residents and business and property owners and partners in downtown efforts, and then focus on activities to engage families. So that's taking kind of what you were saying, you know, you're already doing those things. Those fit under these specific goals and objectives. So,
Okay.
so then it's kind of like this nesting. So when you get the report back from me, we'll talk a little bit about here's what a vision statement is, here's who you are, here's what the vision is, here's what a transformation strategy is, here's our 2 identified ones, here's our goals and objectives in this chart kind of format. And then, so the strategic plan just sets that overarching strategic direction. And then you would take this plan and then go, okay, then what are we doing? Who else is doing what, and where are the gaps and opportunities to encourage?
Would the transformation strategy, if we selected an option, as far as communication, because I attended the Civics Academy last Thursday, and one of the concerns that was brought up amongst a couple of us chairs that attended that meeting was some people aren't on Facebook, some people aren't on Instagram, some people don't get the newspaper, some people don't look at their water bill. Would that, and you know, that's gonna happen. I mean, but if we are Instagramming, Facebooking, water billing, door hangers, newspaper, would this
Bulletin
be,
boards.
would this be a way for us to, even though we are doing everything that we can to get the message out, would this be a good option as for a point of concern to at least get it out there so that it's like, if anybody was to review it, it's like, oh, okay, now I need to create a Facebook account, or, oh, now I need to pay attention to my water bill, or, you know.
Yeah. That communication piece is super important and certainly much more challenging than, you know, in the past, people would read the newspaper or look at the reader board, or you could put things, you know, in boxes at school and kids could take it home. So there were a lot fewer platforms that you had to use to get things out. And I think that's where under the goal for the objective, convene community conversations, that's the idea, to try and reach some of those people that don't connect through some of those other platforms. And so it's like getting the names of, you know, a broader range of communities, like either talking to people in churches or talking to people in schools, or coming up with a list of people to invite for those community conversations along those lines. I know that's an ever needing challenge. I will tell you, your group uses a lot more of those tools than a lot of organizations. So I know it's like that continued need and challenge, and probably a little bit of a frustration too, because it's like, we're trying, you know, we're all volunteers and we're trying the best that we can. Because you do put things out over Facebook, you do have some, you know, ability to you know, do other types of social media posting. You've done the door hanger, you've tried to go door to door and encourage people. So you've been using a lot of different avenues to try and bring. So I think maybe some of those community conversations, you know, don't not do what you're already doing, because you don't know who's reading what and what tool. And there's not going to be any one perfect tool. You're going to continue to need that multi-channel communication strategy. But I think the piece that's missing, and it probably because it's time intensive, is convening those community conversations. But that might be an opportunity of recruiting volunteers and guiding them through like some facilitated questions and having them reach out and having coffee hours or something like that.
Sure.
Where they're continuing to get input. Definitely, sharing once you feel like the draft strategic plan is in a format you feel comfortable with, like this is as far as we can take it as a draft. Now we invite the community to weigh in and let us know, did we hit the mark by listening to you through the surveys and some of those other forums? And then continue to refine it until you say, okay, that's good. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
Sherry?
totally.
Does that answer your
Yeah, no, that
question?
gives me some
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I recognize the communication piece is really challenging these days and trying to get your own message out there. It is a continued need and challenge, but I think that's where it shows up is in that goal and objective kind of piece. To kind of move forward those transformation strategies. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Okay, all right. So as you look at those transformation strategies or those goals and objectives, I'll give you a little bit of time. I want you to really kind of dive into those for the next 10 minutes or so and really look at them and let's see if there's any further refinements you want to make right now that I can take back with me. Hey Connie, just so that you know, this page with the chart that has the goals and objectives all together so that you can see.
I can see it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Sure. Sorry about that.
Okay, think about this as you are part of a larger organization too. So some of these, when we look at like encouraging family-friendly businesses, maybe that means you're going and talking to the Economic Development Commission about, this is the goals we would like to work on. Is there ways we can work together? So don't think that you have to bear the burden of this all on your lonesome. You do have all these other organizations and committees that can help with some of it.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Good point.
Mhm.
We must be on the right path.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Yeah.
Come back together and thoughts, comments, suggestions. And again, if you have made written notes, feel free to give those to me as well before we wrap up today, and I'll take a minute and incorporate, but let's hear what your thoughts and comments are.
I'll go.
Good. Please do, Sherry. I know you're shy and we have to coax you.
Right. So just going across from left to right. I don't have any issue with the first one. Two, I think that I think we do that right now. We talk about trying to get businesses in here that are family friendly anyhow. Three, expand and improve existing events. We are adding one more event, which now we'll have 4 events per year. I know when we had met last year, you thought that the 3 events that we had was one more event too much, and we're added another one.
You know, I have to
Um,
stop making that recommendation because every time I do, I come back to the community and they're like,
Um,
"Yeah, we had fun."
So I basically just crossed out the word expand, but we do need to improve on existing events. And we need, basically, we need to work on our budget since now that we're adding that 4th event. And we need to have a guideline of how and when the events are, like when they start, when you do this, who you contact. So I'm working with Connie on like basically having a cheat sheet. So that if something were to ever happen, if Connie wasn't here, anybody could step in and say, oh, okay, I need to call, John Doe on this, and I need to do this 6 months out. I need to do this 3 months out. So we're working on that. And then on 4, I think we already do that, convene community conversations to continue encouraging residents in the future of downtown. So the second line, enhance public safety. I think we try to do that. We provide guidance already on that. Encourage probably is a better word. In boxes 2 and 3 on that line, I think this just has to do with budget. If you get banners or signs that are year restrictive or just general, you've got that one-time fee for whatever that event is, but you can use it year over year over year. So, I mean, if you're budgeting correctly, you'll be good down the road. So, that just a money thing. I don't have anything for 4. Don't really have anything on line 3 other than create new events, especially in the off-season. We don't need to create any more new events for
So
DEC.
take that
I
one.
was
later.
gonna say, what's the off season? Do we have one?
Right now.
Well, right now we
Yeah,
have,
yeah, generally
a-
they have the shoulder
I guess,
season,
2 summers.
which is
May.
like
It's
like
still
spring and
spring.
fall is generally the off season.
The fall is?
Spring and fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which were kind of,
So like March through May and then like October through December are generally
we have
like
one
when you
check
talk
them all
about
off.
tourism
Yep.
off
we've
season.
got one per season-ish.
Yep.
Yeah, so I
Kind
don't think we need that.
I like the Valentine's Day thing next
I
year.
do too.
The,
The
that's not an
fundraiser.
event, but just little, yeah. the
Which will
fundraiser.
also help our budget.
Yeah, and flags,
Mhm.
the little.
We will take that.
And,
Okay.
and
We
then
added
the.
one, we don't want any more.
Yeah, and the last one, I mean, we've had this conversation, not only at quarterly events, but when you were here last year, how much space in your downtown do you really want to provide for parking versus businesses? And, so.
I don't necessarily think it has, like, there's not enough room
Mhm.
for more
No,
parking, but like, if we could find a place for parking or explore a place for parking that is similar to like this little parking lot and
Right.
people are fine with walking,
Mhm.
but it's like everybody wants to park on Broadway.
Mhm.
It's just not gonna,
sure.
it's not gonna ever happen.
You're never gonna make everybody happy,
there's
but,
no-
but,
there's no more room.
what Sherry has said in the past. Do you really want to have space in your downtown area when you're trying to bring people into your community and let your community flourish and your businesses flourish? You're not gonna flourish with a blank space for people to
Right.
park.
Yeah,
You
you want
want
people to
people,
walk.
you want businesses in that space. You want those businesses to be able to thrive. So.
So one of the council goals is to do a parking study. And that might be something that you would change that to is instead of expand parking is do a parking study. That way we can see, are the
Engage.
parking spaces in the right places? Do we need to have more parking in one place or the other? Those kind of things are questions that you guys could answer.
Okay,
Mhm.
maybe support parking study.
Yeah.
So that's my comments.
Mhm.
Good. And with the parking study, are you going up into the funds for that?
I don't think we've planned that far ahead. They
Okay.
just did their goal setting like earlier this month, so.
And
on.
TGM actually worked with somebody and they have this really awesome online
Connie has it.
toolkit now too. That was just developed last year.
For the parking study, I remember seeing an online toolkit, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Great.
Connie?
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking about for parking, and this is something maybe to look at down the road, but if we had some kind of a shuttle service from maybe the school parking lots or something uptown, if we provided some kind of a shuttle service during Oktoberfest or Uncorked, that might help with some of the parking issue, get the word out that people, kind of a big loop, drop people off, go back up, pick up people, back and forth. Just a thought.
Also with that, I mean, honestly, at some point, the downtown area up there may be different than it is right now, so that
Mhm.
could benefit
Expanding.
future expansion as well.
Yeah.
I mean, even if there was an event at the library to have a shuttle going back and forth from there to downtown, if somebody went to eat downtown, but they were at the music at the park or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Event-based might work, like in Silverton around with the Oregon Garden
Mhm.
kind of thing. Or shuttle people from the school and things like that. I think.
Hey,
Event-based.
Connie? Connie,
Yep, go ahead.
are people able to park in the high school lot for that event?
Oh,
For
yeah,
Oktoberfest?
unless there's sorry. They're having I wonder if I need to leave.
I
Some
was gonna
kind of
say,
a
you gotta
fire
code
drill or
red, Connie.
Kaiser. Yeah, when they're not having any kind of a school event, the parking's open, so. I guess I have to leave. Bye.
Okay,
Yeah.
see ya.
Be
Bye.
safe.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the idea of a shuttle service.
Yeah.
I just don't know
Do we need to
where
do anything?
that area would be. Like, would it be further out on the highway down, like in the industrial area? Maybe ask somebody to use their parking lot.
Library.
Would be
parking lot.
closed on the weekend or something. Open on the weekend. You need to use a business lot that's fairly large and not open on the weekend.
Mhm. Yes.
That could be part of the study too. The part of
Mhm.
the
Oh,
study,
yeah.
looking at during
Spaces.
big events, what are some of the options and.
Where would be a good place for a shuttle to stop and pick up and drop
Mhm.
off?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then,
Could
the
it be
Walkable.
funded, all of those kinds of things.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
the fees, you're not, you can't just have somebody with a van
No.
shuttling people back and forth because they need to be licensed and
Oh,
they
yeah.
need to have insurance, and that used to be fairly inexpensive, but renting a bus or a van or anything like that now any days is pretty expensive, so.
I
Awesome,
wonder
cool.
if contracting with the Sandy, a little shuttle or one of those, just to see if, hey, for a day, can you do a special
Mhm.
instead of carrying something ourselves?
Oh, they're already here.
That's a good idea.
Or
Okay,
Charles.
so I'll go by one. Any suggestions on either the transformation strategies or the goals and objectives that
I
you would
like
make,
what
John?
Sherry added.
Okay.
I thought the family focused strategy, I don't know if it's going too far. I think this is a little too wordy. It doesn't really matter. I mean, maybe it needs to be that wordy, but I thought the whole end of it and could include elder friendly, family friendly, young adult friendly and youth friendly initiatives is kind of a duplicate of
Sure.
what it says all above is
Mm.
all key.
Did
Just,
you make some edits on it?
I crossed out the bottom part.
Okay, yeah.
It
Just,
could go either
it-
way. It's
It
not a
does
big
not
deal.
need to be that wordy,
Yeah.
so make it your own, whatever that looks like. So for sure, give me back those
So-
comments.
Are we gonna have the opportunity kind of to email you
Mhm.
our,
Yeah.
our thoughts? Okay.
Yeah,
And you
as soon
can
as you get
compile
those
'em.
thoughts to me, I can finalize a draft of a strategic plan document and get
Awesome.
it back to you so that you can keep this moving forward. I know you wanted some of this information going into March for some of the planning efforts with the city, so the sooner you can get that to me, the better. But yeah, definitely after today, think about it overnight. If you could get me stuff by the end of the week, that would be great, so I can continue to refine it and get you back.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts, John, before?
No.
Okay. Hannah, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't know if we were removing from the goals, the explore bringing back lost traditions and strength to the community, but maybe an idea in lieu of overloading our own commission is to encourage other commissions to do some of these things. I know that in the past, the Timberfest was being thought of
Yeah.
with a different commission and just maybe giving them some encouragement
Mhm.
to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then Timberfest is something I put in, and then concerts more recently on,
Mhm.
I think the locals page, somebody had mentioned the big stink concerts, and that was like pretty big in the late 90s,
Mhm.
I guess, and so obviously probably not us.
Right.
And then I know,
It does not have to be all on you.
right,
It's like,
yeah,
Just put it out there. and
Yep.
Let people know, hey, this is something that came up in community surveys. If there's like other commissions or organizations that want to adopt it, then you can incorporate it in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. good comment.
and
It
then,
does not have to be you.
right, yeah. Oh, and it says connect with residents and downtown businesses. And I would just say, I want to make sure and try and encourage all of the businesses in the downtown area, not just the ones along Broadway.
Right, yeah, right.
Right.
My business actually is on Broadway, so I'm saying it unbiasedly.
I think I struggle with the bringing back lost traditions too. And just tradition in our whole city too. I
Yeah.
think we have an identity
Mhm.
crisis as like a town in general.
I think that's
I don't know.
the
A
growth
lot of the
that's
stuff I
happening.
love and I agree with, but I think we're, you have the people who want to
keep the small town feel. I mean, it was on the.
Yeah,
survey.
no, small town feel, but what's that identity in, and Timber Town, but we're also artsy and we have beautiful murals, but what do the murals mean? And do those have anything to do with our background? And, yeah, no. Nothing we can change, but just sometimes I think our city has a little, who are we? Who are we actually? We want to be all these kind of things, and
That's a good
so
point.
which can be hurtful, I think, and harmful when we're kind of trying to plan these events and engage with people, and so
Yeah.
that's my only end, but I don't have a,
I think
I don't
that's
have a
probably
answer,
reflective in
but-
that one thing, because I think that's kind of this area was the one that was really interesting to me, because there was that really dichotomy of like,
Mm,
let's do a lot of new
Yeah.
things following this, and then some saying like, well, we're kind of losing our identity because we've lost these other things. But they were probably dropped for good reason, like lack of community support or
Mhm.
involvement or whatever, could have been some of those reasons. So it's kind of, I think it's reflected in what you were just saying. When you said that, I was like, oh, okay, that's
Mhm.
where this is coming from. It's 'cause so
Yeah.
I think you just forge the pathway forward.
Mhm.
You know, we're trying to maintain our small town charm
Mhm.
in the face of this growth.
Yeah.
And this is what it looks like. We're forging this pathway forward through these
Mhm.
events and activities that we're gonna do seasonally to engage the community.
Right,
And bring them
first and
together,
foremost.
convene them. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I think it's kind of that matter of forging the way forward. So I don't know if you want that on there, or just encourage others to do it if they're feeling that loss. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Instead
Yeah.
of saying exploring, bringing back lost traditions, how about just saying supporting traditions to strengthen community identity?
Hmm.
We're not bringing back nothing, we're just supporting whatever's there that.
yeah. Could you make that note and then give it to me? Okay. Yeah, and definitely, if you have additional thoughts, do get them to me, and I will continue to revise this, as I said. Right.
I don't think it would be a terrible thing for us to support lost traditions if it was
Right.
to come up, though.
Right,
Yeah.
which one?
Yeah.
And if there's,
Yeah.
that
Timberfest.
Yeah,
upfront
right.
Specifically.
That's it.
support for something,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, bring
Right.
it on.
Yeah.
But,
'Cause-
yeah.
Yeah,
You'll support,
4th of
not-
July is
Not be the driver of it.
Yeah, we're-
cool. I love obviously the Christmas tree lighting is great because we're in the land of Christmas trees. It kind of pairs together, and then Oktoberfest is great, but deep down inside, I'm like, we're not a German town, it's just.
Yeah, it's definitely not a
It's
lost
great.
tradition.
I love it, and it's been a wonderful, glad we started it, but at the core, it's kind of like, we're not, this isn't Leavenworth, it's cute and it's fun, but what is
Or
it
Mount
truly?
Angel.
It's not, we're a cute little timber town and on the river, so maybe
But
a change in name down the road sometime, or,
but it's been started, and now
Yeah,
it's,
and
you have now
yeah,
gotten it
Had
to a
that
point to
brand.
where it's a really good event, and
Yes.
people, I mean, you
sure,
had a
and that's the
load of
time
people,
frame of it, I get that, it's September and,
and
just
it
little
grew.
things. It did,
It is growing,
Mhm.
so.
yeah.
Was
And
Timberfest like the 4th of July celebration? Is that what that kind of morphed into?
then was it
It was around there. It might have even been
Like
the
the
morning of the
weekend.
parade, typically. The event started.
the
Mhm.
day of
Mhm.
fun? Yeah, the tractor races and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they had a carnival up at the schools, same
Mm.
weekend with lawnmower races and all
Mhm.
sorts of different things. I mean,
Wow.
Yeah,
yeah, it's
and the
changed and
people
evolved and
climbing up the
changed
things and
Mhm.
It
doing
almost
the-
seems Timberfest and Oktoberfest are close enough to the same sort of celebrations, more related than 4th of July would be with Timberfest. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
if you wanted to combine stuff down the
Sure.
road, it might be an option.
Yeah. Yeah,
have a
I
more
think
big
we've talked about it.
celebration. We can-
making it a weekend thing.
Yeah,
But that's
keeping in
why-
mind The filter, what those kinds of community people together.
Mhm. Right, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
You know, name aside, totally get it. Theme aside, sure. But we're bringing people downtown and
Some point a rebrand
Mhm.
if you find that that would be helpful, but.
Yeah.
So something to be mindful of like next year, not this year.
Right. Oh, yeah. Nope.
Not in
Well,
a
okay,
thing
no.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give it
but
5
no,
years. I think what they say, 5 years and then rebrand.
Yeah, those are all really good points that
Mhm.
I think you raised and are deserving of some
Mhm.
consideration. So,
So a lot of people like that
mhm,
tradition.
yeah. Okay. Well, great. I'm gonna try and bring back the PowerPoint again. All right, so we got through, and, so thank you for the, fast track through doing strategic planning. Um, spent a little bit of time yesterday kind of pulling this, together to try and make good use of our time, doing it as a hybrid kind of thing. Normally I'd have some flip charts up here and we kind of be going through this stuff, but trying to be efficient with our time. So next steps, I'll refine the information based upon what we talked about and anything you share to me by Friday. Although sooner is appreciated. And then I will get that draft back to you. Once you get that draft, look it over, continue to refine it as a commission, adopt your version of it, and then you can begin to share it with others and invite comment as you choose, you know, either putting it on your website and encouraging people, you know, give them a week to, you know, write in their comments or suggestions or thoughts. If there's additional community input or buy-in that you want to get. I find that's often helpful because people took the time to do the survey. And
Yeah.
that way you can show we listened and we incorporated it into our plan. And this is what we've come up with. So it gives you that feedback loop. Sorry, Connie, I just hit the mic.
She's gone.
Oh, okay. Good.
Code word, geez.
So it gives you that kind of closing that loop and letting people know. You also, through the community survey, had a short list of people that said that they were interested in volunteering and were willing to share their email addresses with you separate from. So I separated those out from
Nice.
their comments so that it maintained their anonymity on their survey responses. But those are folks that, you know, you can begin to reach out to as well. And for sure, share the draft report with those folks and follow up with them in that. So that's kind of your next steps here. But, you know, as soon as I get, again, the information for you, I'll turn it around so that you have that draft document going into March. So hopefully that will meet your deadlines. And again, thank you for going through this very short
great.
session today. Any additional thoughts or comments or?
I'm excited to go through these comments.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
all for being here. I really apologize for missing our January date.
okay.
I fell,
Worked
I
out.
cracked my ribs. and-
Don't
Which
do
I
that.
is extremely painful, let me just tell you.
Can't breathe.
Yes,
Hurts to breathe.
Ooh,
Let's think about it.
yeah,
thanks for being here.
yeah, no.
This is great.
Yeah, thank you
awesome.
all. I appreciate your time and your attention today and your thoughtfulness. I appreciate that.
Are there any other comments? All right, well, 1:21, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Sherry and
Thank you.
Elena.